The situation is extremely contradictory. On one hand, Trump's statements about a deal on Monday, and on the other, his own ultimatums with profanity and threats to unleash hell. This is a classic style of maximum pressure, mixed with a desire to lock in a victory ahead of a deadline. Here are several possible scenarios based on the given facts. Key uncertainties, bifurcation points, reality of negotiations. Trump speaks of progress while Iran officially denies direct contacts. Intermediaries are possible. Pakistan, Oman. Deadline: the pause in strikes expires on April 6th. Trump threatens strikes on April 7th. Divergence in goals. The US wants capitulation. 12 demands. Iran wants sanctions relief without losing sovereignty. Scenario 1. Temporary tactical agreement. Deal in exchange for time. Probability: medium high, 40 to 50%. Logic: Trump needs a high-profile success, potentially ahead of an election cycle or for his image as a peacemaker. Iran needs breathing room and relief from sanctions pressure. Both sides may agree to a verbal deal without a formal treaty. Hypothetical terms of the deal: Iran unblocks the Strait of Hormuz for 30 to 60 days. The US postpones strikes and partially unfreezes Iranian assets, for example in Iraq. Indirect negotiations resume through Oman or Qatar. Core issues remain unresolved: uranium enrichment, proxy forces, consequences, short-term drop in oil prices by 5 to 10%. Trump declares victory: I prevented a war. Internal struggle in Iran intensifies between reformists, pro-deal, and the IRGC against it. Risk: any provocation, a tanker strike, an incident in the strait could collapse the truce. Scenario 2. Escalation with limited strikes. Targeted strike on April 7th. Probability: medium, 30 to 35%. Logic: Iran rejects the deal or fails to meet the ultimatum. To avoid losing face, Trump carries out a limited strike on a symbolic target, for example, a power plant or port, while avoiding nuclear sites and religious locations. Course of events: April 6th, Iran declares no negotiations under threats. April 7th, the US conducts a missile strike on a facility in Bushehr province, non-nuclear. Iran responds symbolically. Drone attack on a US base in Syria or a rocket strike on Erbil, Iraq. The Strait of Hormuz remains blocked, but Iran does not sink tankers. Consequences: oil prices spike by 15 to 20%, high volatility. Trump declares, we showed strength, now let's negotiate. China and Russia call for restraint, but do not intervene directly. Negotiations resume in 2 to 3 weeks under tougher conditions. Risk: could escalate into scenario 3 if Iran responds disproportionately. For example, a strike on Abu Dhabi. Scenario 3. Full-scale war. Hell in the Middle East. Probability: low, 10 to 15%. Logic: Iran not only rejects the deal but takes hostile action, sinks a US warship or strikes a US base with casualties. Or Trump, in an emotional decision, chooses to finish the regime. Course of events: April 6th to 7th. Iran launches coordinated attacks, missiles and drones, on US bases in Qatar or the UAE. The US strikes nuclear infrastructure, Natanz, Fordow, energy facilities, bridges, ports, and IRGC headquarters. Iran attempts to block the Strait of Hormuz by mining it and sinking tankers. The US opens fire to destroy threats. Proxy forces engage, Hezbollah attacks Haifa. Houthis strike Saudi terminals. Consequences. Oil prices exceed $150. Potential shock similar to 1973. Global recession and inflation. Trump faces a military crisis that could disrupt elections or consolidate support. The Iranian regime risks collapse or, conversely, consolidation. Why unlikely? Neither side benefits. Iran does not want a war of annihilation, and the US does not want a Middle Eastern entanglement before elections. Scenario 4. Stalemate. Neither war nor peace. Probability. Medium-low, 15 to 20%. Logic. Trump is bluffing, and Iran understands this. The deadline passes without strikes. Trump claims negotiations are ongoing, while Iran says concessions were made behind the scenes. Indicators. April 6th. No deal, but no strikes on April 7th. Trump begins talking about progress next week. Iran slightly eases the blockade, lets some tankers pass to save face. Both sides shift responsibility to intermediaries. Consequences. Oil rises slightly due to uncertainty. Reputational damage for Trump. Ultimatum failed. Iran continues uranium enrichment covertly. The conflict shifts into a prolonged low-intensity phase with new deadlines. Final forecast for April 7th. Most likely Scenario 1, temporary deal. Or Scenario 4, stalemate. Trump needs a declared victory, not a war. However, his confrontational style increases the risk of miscalculation and drift into Scenario 2, with a 60% probability. Either a short-term deal or a frozen crisis. Full-scale war is unlikely, but limited strikes cannot be ruled out.